Hello and thanks for joining us. Today I'm taking a look at a white Burgundy from one of Burgundy's most renowned producers, really. This is Aubert de Villaine, and this is Domaine A and P Villaine from Bouzeron. It's a 2018 vintage of this, and the wine is a Bouzeron. Bouzeron means that the wine is Aligoté rather than Chardonnay. And particularly Aubert de Villaine makes a point that he has planted the golden variety of Aligoté rather than the more common Aligoté vert. So this is a variety that is lower yielding and has more aromatic quality. Also bear in mind that Bouzeron's on the Côte Chalonnaise, so we're in the southern half of Beaujolais, whereas if you're buying Bourgogne Aligoté, normally it's from a cooler area, sort of much up towards Chablis and that sort of area as well. So we have a combination of a richer version of Aligoté and a warmer climate. Aubert de Villaine, of course, made his reputation as the director of Domaine de La Romanée-Conti, a position he filled until early 2022, and he was doing that for 48 years. So somebody who has established a huge reputation in Burgundy. But this domain is where he lives, and he believes that he has some of the best sites in Bouzeron, and these are sort of nice sort of chalk and marl hillsides. And most of his sites are at the top of the slopes, giving really good exposure and making them slightly less prone to frost, although 2018 was a year where they lost about 30% of their crop to frost, so a year with quite low yields. The winemaking here is very traditional. The wine ferments and ages in oak, although the aim is to try and allow the fruit to show itself as much as possible. So this is seasoned oak, and it's large oak. It's a combination of wooden tanks and tons, large barrels. The wine is, the grapes are hand-picked, sorted, and very gently crushed and allowed to settle. So there's quite clean juice ferments. Fermentation takes place with the ambient yeasts. Aging in the oak continues for about a year, during which time the lees are stirred. So very classic Burgundian production methods there. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? First of all, the colour. I mean, it's a pale greenish yellow, with no great golden depth or anything like that. Swirling it, the tears are not particularly pronounced. The wine says it's 13% alcohol on its label, and I'm expecting this will be a relatively light-bodied wine, so it's not surprising that it's not particularly vinous, but viscous rather. The aromas, gosh, the most obvious thing on the aroma there is you've got a leesy note, sort of a creamy note from the yeasts in the barrel, which will have been stirred up. But behind that, there's a really quite attractive developed note of candied peel, so candied lemon peel or something like that, or perhaps a little bit of high-toned orange maybe, and then that leads on to a slightly toasty note from the oak maybe, and hints of sweet spice, maybe a sort of a nutmeg sort of style there. So there's plenty going on there. There's a reasonable intensity, but the fruit is not so much there's not primary fruit to the fore. There seems to be a little bit of green appley note, but as I say, this sort of candied peel, sort of slightly more warming confected orange sort of notes are over the top of that. So let's have a taste. The wine's light-bodied and really crisp. I would assume, therefore, that it's not undergone. Certainly, it all hasn't all undergone malolactic conversion, because there's a tartness to the acidity that is It's quite a green note to that. But then there is this sort of creamy, leesy style. I mean, it's not a large-bodied wine. It's quite light-bodied and fresh. Would be more of an aperitif wine, or to go with lighter foods, not necessarily to go up against sort of heavier sort of salmon or river fish. That sort of note would probably be bigger than this would handle well. You've got very slight toasty, smoky traits in the background there, but it's mainly this sort of leesy mid-palate, some green fruit, some of those hints towards the end of candied peel coming through again, and again at the finish. And the finish has a lovely mouth-watering freshness. You see peaked up those sort of slight spice notes. The wine lasts reasonably well, and the producer claims that this wine should age for 10 years. I mean, this is 2018, so it's getting on for halfway to a 10-year anyway. I don't think there's any need for it to age further. There's a lovely complexity there, but certainly the freshness of the acidity suggests that will age, and there's a nice enough concentration of fruit that I think that will gain greater complexity, maybe more sort of nutty, almondy notes as well as it develops. But it's certainly quite a long way on towards that. So yes, a really interesting wine from further south in Burgundy, from a wonderful producer. Thank you very much for watching us. I hope you found it interesting. Do join us again. Bye now.